Hello everyone, this is 1995 Express, and in this video I will be discussing about the Great Race and the Great Railway Show. Well, the hype for the Great Race is rising now that we have seen the promos of characters like Ashima, Vinny, Frida, Gina, Ivan, Raul, Yonbao, Axel, Carlos, Shane, and Tine? Sorry, France, and Rajiv. Flying Scotsman's also appearing, and so far he looks pretty cool.
Good luck, little brother.
Yes, he's very cool. You wanna know why? Because he's Flying Scotsman! Sorry how that should have ended. While this special still has major similarities to Starlight Express, not all the national engines are the same. Sure, the Great Race has Ashima from India, and Rajiv from India, and Vinny from America, Frida from Germany, Gina from Italy, Ivan from Russia, Raul from Brazil, Yonbao from China, Axel from Belgium, Carlos from Mexico, Shane from Australia, and Etienne. Ugh, I am so sorry, France. Etienne from France, and Flying Scotsman from England, and perhaps Hero from Japan if he's participating in the races. And Starlight Express has Conan from the Orient, and wait, what? Oh, Conan's not from the Orient. He pulls the Orient Express, and he represents Europe. Well, this is embarrassing. Cheap translations. Well, scratch a counterpart for Ashima then. Anyways, Starlight Express has Bobo from France, Espresso from Italy, Weltschaft or Virgil from Germany, Turnoff from Russia, Hashimoto or Nintendo from Japan, Prince of Wales from England, Greaseball from America, Canuck from Canada, Caesar from Mexico, Carioca from Brazil, Conan from Europe, and El Pibe from Argentina. But of course, the Great Race has a few engines that are from different countries. Yonbao from China, Axel from Belgium, and Shane from Australia. So, there's not too many similarities between Starlight Express and the Great Race. And speaking of nationalities, why are people making such a fuss over Thomas the Tank Engine having international engines being racist, when basically they haven't really said anything or done anything to actually insult the engines of each country that they represent? Okay, some of them might be stereotypically performed, who knows, the Great Race hasn't been released yet, but come on! That doesn't qualify as being racist! Now, if you were to say that Germany has Nazi locomotives, that would be considered racist. And also, why are people making such a fuss about Thomas having international engines and disrupting the British heritage of it? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, the whole special is taking place in England. Sodor is a part of the United Kingdom, so it's not ruining any of his heritage. Anyway, rant's over, moving on. There's still some issues that I have with the Great Race. It's unclear what the role of the Great Railway Show is going to have in the film. Many sources state that the Great Race is supposed to determine which engine will get to go to the Great Railway Show, but the trailers seem to suggest that the Great Race is at the Great Railway Show. With that said, I'm not sure where the actual story of Thomas and the Great Railway Show is going to fit in. Will it be the next Thomas and Friends Railway Series special? Will it be the movie for 2017? Is Andrew Brenner actually considering adapting Christopher Audrey's most popular book? Only time will tell. And speaking of Thomas and the Great Railway Show, I have completed the screenplay for my variation of the story. There are some differences in the script that differ from the original conception I discussed about in the last video, but I doubted that they're drastic enough for anyone to get irritated at. For instance, Gordon's role in Snow Problem is replaced with Duck, since Daisy, who now works on the Harwick branch line, has this whole portion between her and Knapford Junction. There's the Arlesburg branch and a section of main line in between Arlesburg Junction and Knapford. It would seem rather complicated to get track permits for all 3 railway lines for just one trip. Anyway, Duck, who is bringing up passengers from the junction, and rather than being stuck up like Gordon, warns Daisy about the snow, but Daisy's overconfidence makes her ignorant and she gets stuck. Another big change is in the washout segment, in which Percy finds out that the stream's tide is lower after he is delayed trying to comfort Annie and Clarabelle, not before. Percy's running late, meets Toby on the way, who calls out that the tide is lower, and then we get to the collapsing bridge scene. Not a big deal, just some minor changes, doesn't really harm the storyline, it just is altered so that it can work better under circumstances. And the next major alteration I made, I'm not sure how people may tolerate this, but it happens in the Trouble on the Line portion. After the engines argue about the near accident Thomas had earlier in the day, Thomas breaks down emotionally and runs out of the Great Hall. Sophia follows him and tries to comfort him. I added this in because I thought it would give more emphasis on the state of being. Thomas, having been traveling in an area where so many people stand so close to the railway line, has an emergency braking to avoid running over whatever it was that landed on the tracks in front of him, and the impact that this accident has leaves Thomas with shock as he imagines what it would have happened if it was a child on the line. The whole thing's traumatizing. Nothing like this would have ever happened to him before. He would have never forgiven himself if it was a child on the line. Of course he would be emotionally broken. But Sophia is there to give him comfort and to encourage him that he's at least far better than some of the engines at the museum I could mention. I've kind of developed a relationship between Sophia and Thomas. Now, many of you may be asking right now that I've completed the script, what am I to do with it? Some of you might be saying, I've wasted my time, this idea will never get off the ground, Hit Entertainment is already working on the Great Race, but not so fast! Whilst writing this script, I came up with some ideas as to how to bring this to life. I'm considering a couple of options to get people to read it and see if it's worthwhile to make into a film project of some sort. My first option is to send the script to the Thomas Creative Collective group. I really enjoy the involvement of Thomas fans making projects for the official Thomas & Friends channel, and I feel as though they could work on a great adaptation of this script. My second option is to try and bring the script to the attention of Sodor Island forums. Seeing as how they have a strong connection with the folks behind the scenes of Thomas & Friends now, it might be worth a try to either let them recommend the script as a basis for an official adaptation of the Railway series books, or just a Sodor Island fan site production. My third option is to try and get together a group and work on this story as our own collaborative project. However, I do prefer to work with moles rather than Train Simulator. So yeah, sorry to those of you who use that software. Now, you may be thinking, this is some big leap for me to take here. And I agree, which is why I'm going to allow some specific people to proofread the script and see if they love it or not. However, there are some conditions. 1. You must be someone who has the Great Railway Show as their first option as to what the Railway series stories you'd like to be adapted into film. 2. You must be someone who has connections with either the Thomas Creative Collective Group or SIF. 3. You must answer these 3 questions correctly. Question 1. What are the 3 most common topics I've covered in my Q&A videos? Question 2. Name 3 characters who I like from Thomas and the Magic Road and will appear in my upcoming series, The Magic Road Adventures. And 3. What sentence have Reverend Audrey, Walt Disney, and Don Bluth all said and believe in? Okay, fill these descriptions and answers all these questions correctly, and you may get a chance to proofread The Great Railway Show and see if it's worth it to submit to either of these 3 possibilities. Right, that's it for me. Cheerio.